Good evening, Final Fantasy Randomizer community. This is Space Drake, and I am joined by Lestoid in the commentary booth, Jat on tracking, and Demon Frog doing the restreaming. And we are here tonight to bring you Sylverfyre versus Grendylicius.
Yeah, it looks like Grendylicius, a student of Artea, is going to go with that two-man party, the fighter black mage, which can, like if you've practiced enough, it can be a reliable time, but you do risk the early speed bump of running into like an early exit or something.
Mm.
Whereas Sylverfyre going with the much more basic, the fighter rainbow. So whatever magic it is, Syl's gonna have access to it.
Yep. Silver, of course, is a longtime veteran of the Final Fantasy Randomizer, while Grindy is one of the newer players, alongside folks like me, and he is really committing to this two-man strat.
Well, it's worked out for him so far. He's 2-0, as is Syl, so looks
and
like
we're
they're
off.
all.
And let's see what the white magic is.
That is an early white mage locked fade, and it looks like on black magic side you've got lit 2 and fire 2, so I was wrong about it being level 3.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it looks like
we were making predictions about who would. We were making predictions, viewers, about whether or not early black magic would be particularly dire on this seed, just to put a wrench in Grindy's plans. It doesn't seem too bad. Fire 2 and Lit 2 at level 1 are pretty decent.
Yeah, but they're no fade.
Yeah.
So Grandy's spending a little bit more time in the shop's gonna grab some pure potions just in case.
Yep. Just in case
you lose a party member, things can go bad real fast. So he's purchased a Fulsion. He's gonna be joining Syl in the Temple of Fiends very soon.
They are both starting with Temple of Fiends, not going for that alternate pure BK start. Although Grindy is just plunging straight toward Garland, not even bothering with the chests yet. Probably just want to make sure that he actually kills Garland.
Yeah, with 2 people at level 1, I gotta agree with this. You're just not guaranteed to be able to make it through. He's already used his 2 charges on Garland. If he were to get into any other battle, he'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
And it looks like Matoya's got the crystal for us, and the I'm sorry, not Matoya.
McKay
has the crystal, and Sarah has the TNT.
Yep. So the Princess of Canaria is hooking us up with the explosives. Makes sense to me. And Sylverfyre, meanwhile, getting rewarded for the exploration with a flame shield.
Yeah, flame shield gonna be a good find. You gotta expect that Grandy's gonna be able to get there as well, but I was gonna go for Provoca first.
Yes.
Gonna make those checks probably on the way back.
And the sharks are unrunnable this time around. Oh, possibly a missed input there on Grindy's side, using the Fire 2 against the shark.
It looks like...
Alright, Grindy dispatching that with still relative ease and getting all the way to level 4 already after 2 encounters. This is what Grindy is counting on. He is trying to get as high a level as humanly possible, as fast as possible. Because
this is a very aggressive strategy. He knows that, once you've got... looks like Brack on the Arsa Hags. So that's going to be like a minor inconvenience for now, but as soon as you hit the Sea Shrine, you're going to have unrunnable encounters with at least 7 of those Arsa Hags throwing Brack at you. And it would be a real drag if you didn't have anything for it. We found a defense sword in Matoya's cave.
Ooh.
and the ruby. Meanwhile, Grandy gonna find out there's no softs in Provoca and just gonna reset and take the sailing back. So gonna lose a little bit of time there, but it's better than going back and forth trying to find a soft potion. And he knows he's gonna have a real rough time with those pirates without any kind of magic.
Yeah, but without any kind of sweeping specifically. But Grandy gets there and will fire to these very weak pirates to death.
So, despite the early setbacks for Grandy, you gotta like the equipment that he's gonna find. You know, with the flame shield and the defense sword, that fighter's gonna be pretty well set as soon as he's got the class change.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a tail right there.
And Uriel Man asking, what are the strats for party slots when running a two-man team? And what you're seeing here with the Black Mage in the third slot is partially a function of how the run calculation works, but also just partially, runner's preference.
Yeah. I've never, I've done a little bit of these two-man strats, and I never liked them in the third slot. I always preferred the fourth, largely because it just takes that much longer to use every heal pod on them when you've got that one extra input every time.
Yeah.
But a lot of people prefer it in the third slot over the fourth. And you definitely don't want him in the second, because then he's going to be taking a lot more hits.
Yes. Yeah, despite the fact that we have two nun characters in there, the third character, the second and fourth character slots are being counted toward enemy hit percentage. So the characters in the third and fourth slots do have their usual chance to be hit as if it was a full four-man party.
And it looks like there wasn't a whole lot of black magic in the second level shop. We have Bane, which is a spell.
Yeah, well, I mean, it will be useful. And meanwhile, of course, there's life in...
There's life in heal 2 on the second level white magic. So if you gave me the choice between Fade and Life or Lit 2 and Bane, it wouldn't be a hard decision for me.
No. But it is partially going to depend on what is in those level 3 and 4 slots, because as you will notice, Grandy's team is already level 5, and Sylverfyre only just now hit that benchmark. And once Grandy gets going, he is going to be gaining levels like absolutely crazy.
Yeah, when you're running a two-man strat, you cannot afford to run from nearly as many encounters. The reason being, you're gonna have can't runs a lot more often, and if you fail to run, you're gonna be taking any damage you take is a much higher percentage of your party's HP. Right? Losing one party member to something means you've lost half your party and you've only got one left. Yeah. So it can be sort of a clincher when it comes to certain situations. It means that he's definitely going to be picking up a lot more XP along the way, but you can expect there's very unlikely that he's ever going to take a grind. I don't even expect him to be checking most of these trap tiles.
Yeah, he's pretty much grinding as he goes, and meanwhile, Sylverfyre turning in the TNT and getting a fairy in a bottle for their trouble, and also mostly just finding some cash in the open dwarf cave chests. And now Chad is wondering if we're heading to Marsh, because there's not a lot left to check here in the LDC that is not item or chest locked.
Yeah, Demon Frog pointing out that a canal would be incredibly useful right now, considering you've got the ruby in hand. You don't really want to be making a marsh cave dive if you're Grindy.
Yeah.
but that
Exit on
may not
exit
be an
life
option.
2 on level 3 white magics. That's more power that Grindy is missing out on. Although he does have a zap and fast, it looked like, on level 3, so he will be able to start buffing that fighter of his.
And more importantly, we're not finding any useful magic in level 4. I didn't see anything in level 3 as well for the Black Mage. So the Black Mage has Lit 2, Fire 2, has Bane, and not a whole
Has
lot
Zap.
else.
Zap
Randy's
and
gonna have to loop around and check those 3 Topher or Temple of Fiends chests that he missed before.
mhm.
And gold bracelets for 7,200. That also is going to favor Sylverfyre, because they're going to be able to they're going to be able to get 4 gold bracelets if they want. Like after clearing 1 dungeon, they'll have enough money for it. So Sylverfyre's definitely going to have an easy time. And finding copper bracelets for right now.
Yep, and I would assume Sylverfyre is just going to beeline straight for Marsh at this point. Yep.
So Randy can cross his fingers and hope to find Nuke at level 5.
Yep.
But I mean, beyond that, he's got Lit 2, he's got Fire 2, he's got Bane, and that's going to be all he's got for this Marsh Cave dive. Fortunately for him, I did not see exit on Sylverfyre's side. If
exit was in the level 3 white magic.
Oh, exit was level 3. So
yes, it was.
Okay, yeah. So Syl's going to be way ahead.
About the only thing that Grindy has going for him is that at level 4 there is Quad X, which is not a terrible place for that to show up, since a lot of the things that you'll be facing in the Inner Sea have less than 300 HP.
Yeah, the best thing about Quad X for him in that slot is that there's nothing else in that slot, so he's gonna have something to cast there. That said, he would always prefer a Nuke, he would always prefer an Ice 3, or even a Fire 3 would have helped him out a fair bit. So yeah, looks like Sylverfyre checking the top side of Marsh first is going to find a Pro Ring and a Canal. So we'll see if that means that we're done with Marsh Cave. It looks like we're done with Marsh Cave.
Yep.
So Pro Ring, just the excellent equipment, just still flowing right in. And oh yeah, it looks like Fast is level 3, so that is a useful spell, as is Zap theoretically, but we're getting a lot of insta-death magic, we're not getting a lot of damage magic.
Yeah. Well, Fast is damage magic after a fashion, if you like having your fighter hit a lot of things very quickly, but if you're looking to sweep, not so much.
Yeah, if your fighter is level 24, then Fast is an excellent damage spell. If your fighter's level 14, it's solid. If your fighter's level 6, then it's really not worth much.
Yes. And with all that in mind, Grindy is now realizing that his next destination has to be the Marsh Cave. And he
and Sylverfyre is a full Marsh Cave ahead. Exiting the Inner Sea at before 13 minutes is pretty fast.
Yep. And meanwhile, we are being raided by Randomizer Channel 2 with a party of 22. Welcome to all our new viewers. You are viewing Sylverfyre versus Grendylicius in the 3rd week of...
Oh man, that is the worst thing that you could see level 3 or level 5. So you have Ice 3, Fire 3, Temper, and Nuke.
All on the same spell level.
Temper and Nuke, all 4 sharing the level 5 slot. So your Nuke charges are not going to be plentiful, but they're also going to be your Temper charges. And the best sweeping magic you're gonna get outside of the level 5 slot is gonna be the Fire 3. So that is a real rough blow. This is not a good seed for 2-man strats in terms of the magic.
What are the odds that Grendy tries to like? No, I mean you couldn't just restart at that point. You would be like half an hour behind.
Yeah, if you're gonna restart, you're ideally not gonna restart 14 minutes in. If you do so, you're basically saying, not only am I behind, I am so behind by this magic that I'm gonna lose more than 14 minutes. Like, it would be better to restart at 14 minutes.
Yeah, and meanwhile,
potentially for Grendy to, like, first thing, like, if you're running something this dangerous, you can do this. You can immediately sail to Provoca, immediately sail to Elfland, and see what your first 4 levels of magic are. And you can see that all in 90 seconds. And if you, like, exit blocked like you are here, or anything else, you could re-roll your mages.
Yeah, but you can't do that 15 minutes into the seed. You are locked in to what you've got. And meanwhile, Sylverfyre finding the Oxyales, so that means that the Sea Shrine is now completely open.
Yeah, finding the canoe as well. So you gotta expect Sylverfyre. Their next trip is going to be over to Crescent Lake. They're going to get that free item there. They're going to look for a vendor item. Maybe there's 2 free items.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go probably to Gurgu Volcano.
I was going to say, with this being Fire Week of the spring tournament, I would imagine that the first dungeon, once you have this sort of early-ish canoe in hand, is going to be up. I was going to say that the obvious play would be to go to the volcano, but it seems that Sylverfyre is going to make fools out of all of us, because they are swinging on down to the Earth Cave.
To answer a question in chat, yes, Crystal and TNT came from King and Sarah. It looks like Sylverfyre is just going to check these grind tiles.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna look for some early XP.
I also wouldn't hate the play of checking at least a few of these chests on the first floor, because it's easy enough to reset out or even just like exit out of these chests. Like, if there's anything valuable, you can just smash the button and immediately zip out thanks to that level 3 exit.
So we're gonna find a Cerebus tile, which... Okay, it's Cerebus Wizogre, so it's like the Cerebus tile is okay. Cerebus Wizogre is worse. Like 4 Cerebus would be all right, but this is
this is acceptable.
like it's not a terrible grind for a couple levels, but it's very quickly going to reach diminishing returns.
Yeah, but Sylverfyre is going to take this for at least a few levels, which is also not a bad play, because getting up to level 9-ish would give you those level 4 spell slots and a lot of charges of Fade to play with.
And here you see the power of the 2-man strats. Grendylicius lost a little bit of time just through routing and a little bit of execution, and a little bad luck with that Brack party member, but Grandy's still at level 9, and Sylverfyre looking to get to level 9.
This is
Glare gonna be cast on the party member, but Syl's not too worried. They've got life on that white mage, so not gonna be a problem. Life at level 2 means both party members can learn it. Grandy wishing that he had a little bit more money. It would have been really nice to leave with a gold bracelet for that black mage. When you're in a 2-man strat, obviously the black mage is going to take a lot more hits than he would sitting at the back of the 4-man party.
Right, and meanwhile, it does look like that Sylverfyre is going to check at least a few of these chests. I would imagine
Well,
if
also
these are...
definitely gonna check this third trap tile. And gonna find seafood, which is not particularly fun.
Yep, not particularly compelling.
So, Sylverfyre gonna check these 4 chests that are down here.
Because we have not yet found any...
Grendylicious gonna exit the sea. Oh, a ribbon. Ribbon is gonna be a big deal. And Grendylicious gonna exit the sea about 6 minutes after Sylverfyre. So very early in the seed. You know, when you're under 20 minutes in, you don't really want to be 6 minutes behind.
No, this is not a very good position for Grendylicious to be in. This is sort of the opposite of what this strat is intended to try and achieve. And
Grandy's gonna see the bad news. Oh yeah, and Nuke is in the warp slot. So Nuke, the spell that you want there, is not gonna be learnable until you get your class change. So that's just rough going for Grendylicious. That if you knew that your opponent was gonna have Grandy's party, and you were choosing the levels of the spells, this is about where you would put them.
Yeah, this is pretty much the biggest advantage that Sylverfyre could ever hope to have. And
yeah, that said, because he's running a 2-man strat, he's gonna have level 5 charges earlier than... Oh man, and Gerwolves with damage, poison, and fire too. This is not something that I think Sylverfyre even ran into. But it's going to be real difficult for Grendy to deal with because it's harder for you to get turn order when you only have 2 party members.
Yeah, I don't think Sylverfyre saw a single Grey Wolf at all, so yeah, that's another issue that Grendylicious is running into at this point.
Yeah, that said, he's going to get those 5th level charges a lot earlier than he normally would because he's only got the 2 party members, so he's funneling all that XP, right? So later in the game, he's going to have plenty of nuke charges. The only issue is going to be the early game. And it's also going to be managing those nuke charges because they're also tempered. So if he can find a power bonk, he's going to be fairly happy. He's got lots of fast charges at level 3. He's got the defense sword, so that's going to be all he needs. And he's got all the levels that he'll have all the levels that he's going to need.
Mm-hmm.
So he could still, theoretically, make it through Topher fairly fast.
Yeah, and it might come down to what is waiting for us here in Crescent Lake, and whether or not this is an item like, say, the floater or something that would favor Grendy being able to promote fairly quickly and get all those spell slots unlocked. Meanwhile, we find a cube in the item shop for 10,000 smackaroos.
Yeah, so that's not going to be immediate progression, but it's nice to find. Looks like Sylverfyre going to sell that wizard staff to get it. It's an interesting play, considering Syl is probably looking towards going to Gurgu next. But at the same time, it's not like you're really starved for magic, so...
Yeah, I don't hate that play. You have enough sweeping on both your white mage and your other 2 basically support mages at this point that you're not really worried about sort of the confused strats from the wizard staff, and it's pretty safe to just convert it into money, get the cube now, and then just don't even worry about having to keep track of it and come back for it later and possibly forget that it's here.
Yeah. Well, less worried about forgetting where it is. More worried about just the XP that you're going to get and the gold that you're going to get as a result of having that in your inventory.
That too.
It looks like Sylverfyre not going to head to Gurgu, heading south instead. It looks like Ordeals is on the table here.
Yeah. Looks like Sylverfyre was thinking very briefly about doing some kind of keep grind or something around Crescent Lake, but then thought better of it and is just going to probably jet straight for ordeals at this point.
Yeah, Silverfire already has the cube. Purchased it from after purchasing the or selling the wizard staff. So looks
Probably
like going
thinking
straight to Elfland. Got something else you want to purchase? Maybe a gold bracelet or something?
Well, the item in Crescent Lake from the sages was the herb.
It was the cube, wasn't it?
Well, no, the cube was in the item shop. The sages had the herb.
Oh, the sages had the herb. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna grab some items, but also probably gonna turn in that herb.
And one fine day in chat pointing out that even with the idea of doing this sort of walking grind on the two-man party, Grindy is taking a lot of fights, and meanwhile,
Silverfyre flirting with disaster and probably doesn't realize how close they were.
Yeah.
Purchased a bunch of cabins, spent all your money, and then wound up not having enough money for inn. So running around and running into those gerwolves in a pack of 4. Those gerwolves having damage, poison, and fire too. Could even have, like, even with her ribbon, could have. I'm sorry, even with the ribbon on that white mage, I believe, could have wiped out that whole party.
And then briefly resets, remembering, oh yeah, I have an herb to turn in, and that turns into an opal Cheerio.
Opal bracelet gonna be a good find.
It's an excellent find for this party.
Yeah, gonna be an even better find for Grendylicius's party, but don't expect him to find it for another 4 minutes or so. Looks like he's making up some time.
Grindy is getting there. He's gonna have to decide if he wants to just leave this cube behind for now. Looks like I'm probably gonna do that. He's hoping to see some good news here, and he doesn't get much.
Well, I mean, all the bad news has already been out. Like, what good news are you going to expect to find? That was about what he could expect, is an Ice 2 or a Fire 3 at level 6. And as
he was hoping for that.
It's certainly not what you hope to find.
Yeah, I think he was hoping to see a Fire 3 in that level 6 slot, and to make it so that it isn't likely that his Fire 3 is locked up in Gaia. But
yeah, like, he could theoretically have had an easy enough time. The only problem, really, is that he's up against somebody who has access to Fate.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and meanwhile, Silverfyre checking the spike tile in Ordeals and finds a whole bunch of mud golems. And I think Silverfyre is going to be very happy to take this particular grind.
Yeah, Grendy purchased a couple houses, and it looks like he's going straight for Gurgu.
In Grendy's position, I don't completely hate this play, although with you being so short on ice magic at this point and no nuke sweep, that's going to be a somewhat annoying place to try and clear out, although that's true for almost any place at this point that isn't maybe Sea Shrine, and that would be too big a Galaxy Brain play even for me.
Yeah, but you can see Grandy has already 3 charges of the Quad X, gonna have something like 4 charges of the Zap. You know, he's got Bane. He's not helpless. He's just relying on a lot of instant death magic. So he would be in sort of a rough spot if he ran into a bunch of, say, undead, where Bane isn't going to work and Quad X isn't going to work, but he'll usually be all right. And the undead, the Fire 2 is gonna tear him down. So looks like he might be going back for that cube.
Yep. And speaking of tearing down some undead, Silverfyre finding a few mummies, burning them down, and checking the rest of the chests in ordeals, not finding too much of note, aside from a power staff that is going to sell for a few bucks, and finds the crown.
Our restreamer Demon Frog in chat pointing out that it's going to be hard to kill Kaya, or hard to kill Carrie. It may be. That said, with a two-man party, you're likely to be level like gain 3 or 4 levels. So you're likely to be level 15, 16 going into the fight against Carrie. And on top of that, having the fast spell makes it quite possible for you to do enough damage, enough chip damage to make it a quad X reliable play. So not perfect, but still like not completely out of the realm of possibility.
Silver, meanwhile, running into some really nasty cats on the way out of ordeals, but that actually just ends up slingshotting the white mage up to about level 15 or so.
Yeah, you made it out, and you had the exit spell, so really that encounter at the end of ordeals, I mean, a lot of people don't like passing up trap tiles. That's one that I often like to take a pass on, because it's a drag if you have to go through ordeals again. Especially for me, because I always forget the pillar maze as soon as I'm finished it. If I've already been one floor over, man, I'm gonna have to relearn the whole thing.
Yes, I've gotten tripped up in ordeals in my practice seeds more times than I personally care to admit.
So Grendy not really meaning to take a grind here, but just as a result of all the fights that he's been taking on the way, it's sort of turning into a grind.
Yeah, the chat's been still commenting that they aren't too fond of just how many fights Grendy is taking. This is really slowing him down, because he's Grendy is now properly a full like dungeon or more behind Sylverfyre.
Yes, absolutely. And when you're doing the two-man strats, you can't really afford to be running from all your encounters. And it looks like one of the strats that Grendy's sort of learning and not quite proficient at yet is manipulating the encounter table with a lot of save items. So he's running into these encounters and he's taking them. Finds a light axe, chooses not to equip it right away. That makes sense. And you can see, like, when you're in an encounter like this, getting can't run is like, it's just a time loss, because you're not taking very many turns, but your enemy is still taking plenty of turns. But yeah, just for 3 Paralists, getting almost 1100 XP. And the Sun Sword is going to be an excellent find for him. Now, like, the question of how he's going to kill Carrie is much more easily answered.
Yep.
He can fully complete this dungeon, and he finds a Tyro on a grind tile, which he will not take. I got to agree with this. Like I said, you don't want to be grinding if you're running a two-man party. The whole point is not to get to level 50 because you've taken so many fights. It's to get to level 30 without having too much trouble, or even level 24 without having too much trouble, because you're just running through. He's typically gonna face Topher at level 28 or something around there.
Yeah, but speaking of sort of grinding as we go, Sylverfyre continuing to smash up some mummies and whatnot as they work their way through Waterfall Cave, and running into a small pack of unrunnable wizards who pose no threat whatsoever.
Yeah, those wizards rolled like 42 HP or something silly like that. Yeah. And Sylverfyre finding the adamant, it's a find. It's not necessarily a good find.
Yeah, that could turn into our key or loot It could also turn into like a power bomb or something, which is not going to be as useful for Silver as it is for, say, Grandy.
Yeah, so Grandy could get bailed out a little bit by his route in here, because he's still in the inner sea, or at least on that initial continent.
Mm-hmm.
As he finds unrunnable slimes. Let's see if he remembers that they're weak to fire. He does not.
He does not. And they have sleep and crack.
So he can reset out. And that was in the fire tile. So there are going to be a few chests that are going to be inaccessible to him.
That are going to be guarded by cracking sleeping slimes, yeah.
Yeah, meanwhile, if he were to find the floater just chilling in Gurgu, he could be ahead.
Yep.
Assuming he doesn't, though, he's going to be in trouble.
Meanwhile, Sylverfyre finding a slab on Astos and just more or less running poor Astos over like a bus, and routing in the bridge boss and heading back up to the dwarf cave in order to turn in this chunk of metal for whatever the smith feels like handing us on the sea today. And we get a chime. That is the full Flying Fortress complex now open to Sylverfyre, and that is going to open up some interesting routing decisions, because that is now both of the late-game Fiend dungeons completely runnable, and that is a lot of locations for our other loose item to be in.
The Fiend dungeon's open, but it's unlikely that you're going to be taking that as Grandy deciding to take this Tyro fight now. It's unlikely that you're going to be, with all those incentivized items available, you're not likely to be trying to sail the inner sea. Oh, and now we're running away. So that flame armor he really wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to give him more absorb on the fighter, and that was the one that the Tyro was guarding. So,
yeah. And meanwhile,
the Tyro had way more HP and just kept getting the right turn order on him. Yeah. So,
meanwhile, Burt Reynolds is correcting me and making it clear that the name of the dungeon in question is not the Flying Fortress or the Sky Palace; it's the Sky Cave.
I thought it was called the Air Cavern, but whatever you want to call it, man. So, Grandy needing to learn a little bit about what's weak to what. She's using fire magic on the Paralisks, using lightning magic on the slimes, just minor optimizations.
Yeah,
he's gonna get ambushed by these Argoyles.
Now, happily, these Argoyles do not have anything too nasty. These can sometimes roll some quite nasty magic, and in the default game, they can pack fire too, and getting ambushed by these can sometimes just end your current run.
Yeah, this seed just showing exactly how difficult these strats can be. Artea would argue that a lot of the time what you want to see when you're running the two-man strats is that the magic is sort of backloaded, because it means that your higher level black mage will have more of the charges for the really interesting spells. But that's all negated when the other side has a fade and you don't.
Mm-hmm. And even the leveling speed is not really paying off too much, because both Grandy and Silver are now hitting level 14 just about together, and Silver finding a whole bunch of chimeras doesn't seem too interested in taking that beyond just firing a fade over their shoulder as they run away.
Yeah, Silverfire's making a lot of headway just with mostly level 2 magic.
Yeah. Now,
That's all that you need.
there is one problem here, and this is something I personally don't like doing quite so much, although Exit will make it a little better. Having to do the ice cave without warp, because with warp you can perform a cheeky little maneuver where you go into that hole that is right in between all three chests, warp back up, and immediately check all three of them without having to go all the way through the ice cave. And if you're not interested in doing if you're not interested in checking the whole thing, that is a good way to go mode it. But meanwhile, Sylverfyre has encountered zombie dragons with Stone Touch, and
Zombie
gets a good turnover.
Stone Touch, but we'll see how many softs. Yeah, they've got 11 softs. They're gonna be fine. A lot of high XP fights here, and the key, the loose mystic key is sitting there in Ice Cave, and that's the thing about the warp trick versus having exit. You know, if you are only like if there are no loose items or they're all accounted for, the warp trick allows you to get through Ice Cave very, very quickly. But if you're planning on full clearing it, warp doesn't save you much time over exit. Because even though it's going to take you longer to find that incentive thing, you're still going to come down to this floor, you're still going to check all those chests, you're going to check all those chests in the room with the hole you can drop down, and that hole leads directly to that incentive chest. So you're still going to go essentially through the whole Ice Cave route, and then when you get to the trap tile, you're going to wind up exiting out. But it's going to be about as fast as it would be with warp.
Yeah.
That said, when you're go mode in this dungeon, warp is way faster. But as we could just see, we don't want to go mode this dungeon because you're going to have a hard time getting through the Temple of Fiends without that Mystic Key.
Yes, indeed. And meanwhile, the Frost Giants have cremate, but that's not going to be too much of a problem for Sylverfyre right now. And Grindy is still picking his way through the lower portion of the volcano, and I have to say that it is a big advantage for Sylverfyre at this point. Sylverfyre is.
Grindy found the one weapon that he wanted to find, and he's not using it right. Found the Massmune. Massmune, typically in these two-man strats, especially when the fighter already has a sword like the Sun Sword, Massmune typically would go to the Black Mage. So you have two melee fighters, but
yeah,
he chooses to put it on the fighter instead.
Yep.
So
especially in this situation where you have kind of come up sort of aces and eights on the on the spell list, and you need to find some other way of having that Black Mage contribute direct damage.
Absolutely. You know, without any magic, it's real rough.
Yep. Oh, and Grindy making a sort of a misplay with the armor there. So both the Ice and Fire armor and Ice and Fire shield do confer opposite type elemental defenses. So if you have the flame shield, you get ice defense, and if you're wearing the ice armor on top of that, you get fire defense. If you wear a matching set of, say, the ice armor and shield, as Grindy is doing now on his fighter, you only get the fire defense. It doesn't stack. It's just, do you have fire defense, yes or no?
So he didn't. I thought that he swapped back, but maybe he did it and then wiped. I thought he swapped so he had the flame armor and the ice shield.
He did, but he just found
the flame shield and the ice shield to go with this flame armor.
Well, he just found the ice armor and swapped the flame armor for the ice armor.
So he finds the rod, which is not what he was looking for.
not really what he was looking for, but Sylverfyre is coming up on the volcano and is going to find that rod, and the loot was in the incentive chest of Ice Cave. So Sylverfyre is about to hit go mode as soon as we get to the bottom of the volcano, and that is big. Although I don't actually know if Sylverfyre is going to go mode all of these dungeons, because I don't know if this is all the gear that you would want to try and do Topher with.
Yeah, I think that they're going to want to grab a little bit more gear. It's possible that they'll feel like they're all set with the defense sword, but also there's a mass mune in this dungeon, so
Yes.
Sylverfyre definitely looking in the right place, as the Quad X still has not. Oh, but the 8 hits with the mass mune definitely gonna take out Carrie. So we knew that Carrie was gonna be all right, but definitely showing it there. We're still in sort of dire straits if you're Grendylicious.
Yeah, Grendy is technically the first person on the board with a fire orb lit, but he is still 3 items off from anything that even is sort of vaguely go mode shaped. And meanwhile, Sylverfyre is some armor, and a bit of a grind away from just charging straight into Topher and giving Chaos the business. Because say a flame and ice armor and shield combo isn't the best armor for your fighter, but you can make it work in Topher, especially if you decide to grind maybe a little higher than it.
Oh yeah, flame and ice it actually is your best armor possible on the fighter. That's that we're talking about on the fighter. Looks like Sylverfyre did not pick up any charges of fire too, so gonna have a little bit of a difficult time with these slimes, but we'll.
But Demon Frog pointing out in chat that one thing I hadn't quite considered, since I haven't used that strat too much myself yet. The fighter does also have the defense sword, so that is another way of stacking some defenses up on the fighter in case that's necessary for dodging those nice big Kraken, Tiamat, and Chaos melee attacks.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible for Topher to be the great equalizer. I mean, maybe Chaos has, like, nuclear 3 times, but lacking that, this looks like it's Sylverfyre's race to lose at this point.
Pretty much. Even with, like, it would have to be pretty much just, like, those triple nukes in, like, rapid succession, and even then, if it's something that dire, like, Grendy is still going to have to grind a bit to get past that.
Yeah, it would have to be something like that, and also, like, low enough HP that Grendy would be able to kill him just through straight offense. So it's a very narrow win condition, but that is one. So, like, if you're looking at a Chaos with 900 HP that starts off with a bunch of, but, like, let's say you have no spells and just a skill list and it's nothing but nuclears, that could be enough to stop Sylv, but potentially let Grendy through. That's a very, very specific win condition, though, so let's not.
Yes.
Let's not assume it.
Yeah, like, we have to, just say it straight here. Like, this is...
If it does happen, I am going to retire from speculating about seeds, because... because that would be the most correct answers in a row I'd ever had. So, Silverfyre gonna use the mass meat on the fighter, gives that sun sword down to the red mage.
Mhm. Once again, a play I don't hate. You only need to get to level 24 for that fighter to really turn on with the Masamune, and that is not going to be too difficult for Silverfyre to achieve with not even a terribly intense grind, especially with basically 3 dungeons worth of trap tiles and forced encounters and whatnot to still go through.
Okay, so something real bad's gonna happen, I think, for Grendy. Grendy is not gonna be able to get that Mystic Key without getting through a trap tile of zombie Ds. Now, those zombie Ds have stone touch, and there's going to be either 2, 3, or 4. So, best case scenario, there's going to be 2 zombie Ds.
Yep.
And that's not an ideal scenario for 2 party members.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, you have to get through this first, and it's not... This is not a kind ice cave.
No, it is not kind to
This is the kind of ice cave that you don't want to see with a 2-man party.
Yeah.
Right, like, Silverfyre immediately got through that encounter because, of course they did, you know?
Because Fade.
With Fade and harm spells and just more party members, it's easier to get through that. But it's very difficult to get through that kind of encounter with only 2 people taking the hits.
Hmm. And Carrie opening up on Silverfyre with ink.
If I were creating a seed in some sort of ROM hacking thing in order to make the worst seed possible for a 2-man party,
this is about what it would look like.
It would look a lot like this. I mean, maybe you could make it worse. You could take the black magic. You could get rid of the lit 2 and fire 2, and just make nothing available. I mean, you could put nuke at level 8. You could have something feasibly worse, but it wouldn't be much worse. It would be difficult to really beat this.
Mm-hmm. And we actually missed it in our discussion a little bit, but Silverfyre has now entered Go mode.
So Silverfyre, Go mode, you've got the one herb, but doesn't look like you have the floater yet. So it wouldn't surprise me if we're gonna check a little bit more.
I mean, it is entirely possible to do this seed floaterless at this point.
Yeah, but why walk when you can fly? Is it a loose floater?
No. We have found a loose loot, and I believe we had one
a loose loot and a loose key. Where's the loose loot?
Well, no, the loot was not loose. I'm sorry. The loot was the incentive item of Ice Cave.
So it. We haven't turned in all of our checks yet. It looks like floater. That is funny.
All right,
so
now,
in one of these orb dungeons, you're gonna find a floater. Probably Silverfyre gonna find it first because Grendylicius doesn't even realize exactly how bad this ice cave is for him. And
I think it's starting to dawn on him, but it's a slow and painful reveal.
So there's a good chance that what happens is when he finally gets past that vampire chest, he may take that zombie D chest once, or like take that fight once, but considering you have to get through that fight twice to get through, after he wipes to it once, he'll probably just decide to orphan those chests, and that will be
that's gonna be game.
Yeah, that's essentially gonna be game.
Meanwhile, Sylverfyre just doing.
He got preemptive on those vampires, so that's good news for him. Let's hope he can get a preemptive here. He can. Okay, so he gets a preemptive because he's got higher levels, which is good.
And
he knows that the key is there. That is crucial for him because it means even if he does take a wipe here, which it looks like he's gonna do because he's taking a fight. They've got Scorch. They're gonna.
Grendy is getting incredible. But I would say he was getting.
There it is. There it is.
Yep.
He sees the stone touch and he's gonna try and fight him. Nope. He's paralyzed. Oh, he's out.
And he makes it.
Oh, and he clutches it out. Grendylicius taking 15k XP for that fight. That was an incredible party, or that was an incredible fight there.
That was
the zombie D's not attacking at first, so they lulled him into that sense of security.
And then
man,
almost got him, but not quite. And he's still in this. Like we thought that might just be the end of it all, but he's still at least a little bit in this, and he's going to find the loot in a little bit and be one item off from go mode here in just a moment or two, because he is through the worst that this ice cave has to offer, and it's a lot of undead that he can just fire to away on this upper floor.
Yeah, so Sylverfyre definitely going to continue to check chests. I would expect them to continue to check chests until they found the floater, because if you find the floater, you save a lot of time.
And you can also promote
just, the equipment that becomes available to you after class change. It's not just all that. It's also you save time by being able to fly around.
Mm-hmm.
We saw recently there was a seed where because there were no heal pots in Conneria, someone who was trying to go floaterless wound up having to trek all the way back to Provoca to fill up the heal pots, just because it can be a drag with no floater.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, both of our runners learning how annoying cockatrices with sleep can be. So it's a little rough to run into the sleep spell when you have 5 things trying to cast it at you simultaneously.
Yeah. So we're seeing just your standard fare in Mirage Tower. So far, nothing has been too terrible. At these levels, you might be a little bit worried, but with this magic, you should be fine. Is Grandy gonna grab his loot to go with his key, and he's gonna hope that he can walk this out. He knows that this dungeon does not have a floater for him, so he knows that it's like if he doesn't get through here, I'm gonna expect him to nope out and come back with a floater. As a Fire 2, turns out this Twilight Party Pack, big surprise, is not particularly beefy. They've skipped leg day.
Yep.
So one Fire 2 is going to knock down not only the vampires, but also the Whiz Vampire, which is not a usual happenstance.
Not usually how that plays out, and depending on how cheeky you're feeling, that actually would end up not being the worst grind tile.
That would be an amazing grind tile if you weren't terrified of getting turn ordered, because they're just massive. So it would be a great grind tile if you weren't, for example, like running a 2-man party. Because then, if they have if monsters strike first, you're already have at least one party member dead before you even get a turn.
Yes. Sylverfyre, meanwhile, playing with the manticores a little bit, and continuing to check these chests in the flying fortress, or the sky cave, or the air cavern, or however you wish to call it.
So Silverfyre looking for the more ribbons potentially, but also for that floater. If Silverfyre finds that floater, like just found the Mystic Key, right? All of those Mystic Key checks are going to be a lot easier to do if you've got the floater.
Mm-hmm.
All the Cardia checks become possible. So the single piece of equipment that they're most going to be looking for is going to be the floater, because there's a good chance that all of those chests that you can check afterwards will have something that you're looking for.
Finding a Zeus gauntlet.
So it looks like we're in a sleeping loop. Grendylicious wanted very badly to get the hell out of here. So early in the run that would be a reset, or early in the dive that would be a reset. But here he was willing to sit through several rounds of doing absolutely nothing, just hoping that one of his mages would, or one of his characters would wake up long enough to either run or kill something.
Mm-hmm.
But he's finally out of Ice Cave, as our tracker, or I'm sorry, as our restreamer Demon Frog pointed out in chat. Just incredibly clutch getting out of there, especially past that zombie D tile. You know, he had a fair amount of magic defense, given his fighters levels. So I mean that stun touch is gonna work as often as it would with like a cockatrice, right?
Yeah.
But still, incredibly clutch to get out of there.
Meanwhile, Sylverfyre hitting level 19 now, and is looking like they are just about done with these checks in the fortress. Still trying to get some extra EXP off of pretty much whatever they run into, because we haven't found a really good, convenient grinding tile here just yet that isn't like halfway buried in a dungeon.
Yeah. So, Granny knows he's not floating. He does not know that the floater is in. Oh, and there's a second ribbon for Silverfyre. He does not know that the floater is loose. So it's possible that he goes for Earth Cave now, but unlikely. We'll see what he wants to do next.
I could see it. If you are Grindy, you are still wondering where that chime is, because you know that that's the last remaining item for your go mode, and now you're thinking, well, all right, the Sea Shrine and all those chests are open to me. The Earth Cave is open to me, and all those chests are open. I know there is a loose item still, and it could be that chime, it could be the floater, it could be any number of things, and maybe now I want to start checking places with a lot of general chest density, and go for the idea that my go mode might be floating around loose.
Yeah, it's sort of crucial where that floater is at this point, because depending on the power of Temple of Fiends Revisited, we have to remember that with no floater, there's no power bonk.
Mm-hmm.
Power bonk is going to be behind either the slab or the bottle.
Yep.
So
and
knowing that, it's going to be, and knowing that temper charges are going to share a level with Nuke, and they're at level 5, so they're not in too much abundance. You're going to have 4 or 5 when you're diving with a 4-man party. So it could become an issue if you run into a lot of high absorb encounters. It could be an issue where you need that power bonk, and that would not play out well for for anyone who's go moding. If it turns out to be important.
And sadly, on Sylverfyre's side, we do not get any appearance from the War Mech today.
So Grandy gonna buy that silver bracelet. His black mage is gonna wear it for as long as it takes for him to turn in this herb.
Yeah.
Yep, you still do have the herb. You can turn that in, and then he's gonna go, oh, well, so much for that gold bracelet. Because here's the opal bracelet. He is gonna make the key lock checks. Oh, yeah, as you pointed out, he's got the ice armor and the ice shield, choosing to use either the flame armor or the flame shield. Possible he didn't realize the absorb is the same.
Yep, the absorb is the same, and the ideal way to use those is to mix and match one of the armor and the shield of opposing elements, so that you get the double elemental cover. And
exactly.
And specifically, that's really nice because that protects, even without like the dragon armors, like lightning resistance and whatnot, and the poison resistance of the Aegis shield, which the upgraded knight can get. The fire and ice will still protect you from about, I want to say, 3/4 or so of the sort of breath weapons and spell-like abilities.
Well, it'll protect you from Blizzard, it'll protect you from Blaze, those are the two breath abilities. There's also Scorch and Frost and all those lower ones, Heat, Cremate. But interestingly, Sylverfyre did not check the key lock. If you were to find, I guess Grandy's going south to Ordeals and just covering ground that Sylverfyre's already done.
Yeah.
But if Grandy were to find a floater in key locked, he would have been able to make up a fair bit of time.
And meanwhile, Sylverfyre is pretty much just going to, I would imagine, carefully go mode this sea shrine, not bothering with the upper shrine, and just maybe at most grabbing some chests on the way down to Kraken.
Now that's interesting. Again, not looking for floater. It could be that Sylverfyre plans to grab the Kraken floors, and then finding nothing, go up into the mermaid floors and do them second. Because with X, that is always a possibility. We'll still have to see what they choose to do. But if you are skipping chests, like if you skip past floater, you can find a way to lose this race. Falconic calling a key locked marsh item. If that were the case, then we would never see floater in this sea.
Yeah, no, if the floater is in the key locked portion of marsh, I can guarantee you that neither of these runners is going to ever look there. And meanwhile, Grindy is once again playing with everyone's favorite zombie dragons.
Yeah, Grandy runs into the two zombie Ds there. You could see him start to take the fight and then hesitate when he realizes, oh yeah, these are the Stone Touch zombie Ds. So he attempts to run, but after failing, just decides to finish the fight out.
And now, here come those incredibly nasty red Zahags we were talking about earlier, but turn order ensures that they all fall to Lit 2.
Yeah, with the number of ribbons that are in Sylverfyre's party, not likely to be too much of a problem. Even having 7 Brax cast at you, when you've got a 3 out of 256 chance of falling to it. We all know how rarely the Bane Sword works on a Chaos. But yeah, still an interesting sea shrine. We've got Cremate down in from those sea snakes.
Yeah, you know, it's sea snakes, like, you know, breathing fire breath or whatever. That makes perfect sense to me. And Grindy continuing to hack through the undead in Castle of Ordeals, got through the Killer Mace without too much trouble, and just checking the chest now.
Yeah, so Grendy not going to find anything that Silverfyre didn't, so we're not expecting to see a loose floater in here.
No. Meanwhile, Silverfyre indeed checking those chests that are on the way and finding the opal armor, which might have been a nice pickup if Silver had not previously discovered the dragon armor in the Flying Fortress.
So Silverfyre is skipping a lot of these chests, so
yep.
They've decided that they're in go mode. They are not going to be looking for that floater. Now, they are going to be able easily to get to Temple of Fiends without the floater. That's not the issue. The question is whether they're going to be able to get through Temple of Fiends without a class change. And without Power Bonk, it's possible. It's just not a guarantee.
Yeah, no, the lack of Power Bonk and like having to share those temper charges with the nukes is going to make getting through the various floors of Temple of Fiends a kind of an adventure. Now, especially for the Lich and Carry refights, the Masamune on a presumably level 24 plus fighter is going to make those not quite as dicey, but once you get down to like Kraken and Tiamat, those are fights that you conceivably very well might not be able to just one round, even with a Masamune. Although, speaking of not one rounding things, lobsters are starting to give Silverfyre the business. That is
lobster's not going to be too much of a worry with the red mage still standing.
Mm-hmm.
Level 2 revival being as universal as it can be. But choosing not to revive yet, gonna accidentally take another encounter, and we'll see if Silverfyre gets punished for it. Doesn't look like they will.
No. This is specifically, I imagine, trying to get more EXP on that fighter to get them to the level 24 breakpoint with the Masamune.
Oh yeah, as long as you don't run into an encounter like this, where you've got cremates and you've got a lot of hard-hitting lobsters to deal with. Yeah. Although with those 2 ribbons, it looks like they're not going to take nearly as much damage as they could. So they're going to be probably fine. Looks like, actually, that red mage is in a bit of danger going down.
Mm-hmm. Going for a bit of a gamble.
If that red mage were to fall, there would be no... Oh, and there's no revival on this party, so... all of a sudden, that's how quickly it can happen. You're in danger. Mm-hmm. Because now Silverfyre with just the lone fighter is going to hope that fighter can go toe-to-toe with Kraken, but...
that's a gamble.
She'll be doing so. That fighter will be doing so with no power bonk, no fast spell, no temper charges, just the defense sword and the mass mute.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how this goes. Opening with the defense sword, that seems smart. 2 hits, 170 damage just to start off, and then Kraken casts fast. You don't want to see that. Defense up there. Looks like you did. And okay, so 5 hits. 5 hits is for only 100 damage. That's not very much. 5 hits for 91 damage.
Yeah.
Kraken's got a lot of absorb, but is not going to be doing too much damage to Nat here.
Yeah, because Kraken insists on spellcasting level 2 spells, and we are through the pile of sashimi without too many issues, and that is a 3rd orblet on Silverfyre's side.
So Kraken with a fair amount of absorb, but not too much in the way of HP,
mm-hmm.
and critically, just given turn order and the things that Kraken chose to do, Silverfyre able to get those 3 defense swords off before Kraken really started swinging, because you don't want a fasted Kraken swinging at your fighter without all those defense sword. The evade charges up. So that fight could have been killer, but it turned out to be fine.
And Sylverfyre leaving
head over to Earth Cave to light their 4th orb.
Yep. And
Grendylicius checking all the chests here. Gonna try and find any kind of loose item. Grendylicius does not know that he's in a theoretical go mode yet, so he's still gonna be checking chests. To answer Dangle's question, yes, sleep does remove evasion stacks. So, the thing with sleep 2, I believe, it's fairly hard to stay asleep. I believe, I'm not sure if it's been if the patch is in this version of the game where sleep can fail, but in the vanilla game, you wake up literally every time you fall asleep. But either way, getting attacked while asleep would be dangerous. Kraken also used hold, and that failed.
Sylverfyre also doing some encounter manipulation to get to Elfland without too much trouble, and picking up some much needed spell support for the Black Mage, who has been sort of running around with basically just 2 spells for most of this run so far. This is also might look a little silly since the mages are all currently learning these spells while dead. But yeah, Silver just loading up on spells on the way to getting ready for Temple of Fiends.
Yeah, Sylverfyre, when they went through here, didn't have enough gold to buy a lot of magic, so all of these spells are like they just weren't used. Grendylicious losing that Black Mage, do not have the ability to bring him back up, so we're gonna be swinging at lobsters and hoping that we can get through here. So a similar situation to the one that Sylverfyre was in. Assuming that you can get all the way to Kraken. Gonna equip that ribbon. Didn't actually equip it, did he? Probably did. Gonna equip the ribbon and gonna hope that the defense sword and the mass mune will carry. Critically, we're gonna see if Grendylicious isn't able to get all those defense sword charges off in time, then we're gonna see potentially the danger that Sylverfyre was in during that fight.
Yep, and of course that fighter on Grendylicious' side is now up to level 26, which is even higher than where Sylverfyre is at, and Sylverfyre sort of going for temporary 2-man strats. We know this isn't permanent because Sylverfyre just is still spending a lot of time bulking up the spell lists of everybody, but Silver is definitely looking at getting a number of support spells, especially on the mages, before going in for that deep Topher dive.
So, Sylverfyre critically not going to have access to possibly the Cure 4 spell.
Yeah, or Nuke.
And never going to have access to Nuke because Sylverfyre just purchased enough spells to fill up the spell list in level 5 without grabbing Nuke. As Grendylicious will get through that Kraken fight, got his defense sword stacks off and is fine. Right, so Sylverfyre will not ever have Nuke, which they've decided is going to be fine for them. I'd say that's probably the correct decision. Unless they find Floater for free in these few chests, you're definitely not going to be going around redigging dungeons trying to find that Floater. So you are committed at this point to the floaterless strat.
I mean, for where Silverfyre is at, I actually think that this is probably the correct play because you know that you found almost everything else. You're thinking, okay, the floater is somewhere, and I have to dig it out. And the promotion would be nice, but I have no idea if Grendylicius has actually like run into any kind of problem. Maybe did some other kind of weird routing thing and found, the perfect grind pile and is now like level 35 or something and is just, blasting through all of these things, and especially with that fairly early Masamune, you're thinking, oh god, I'm now racing against a completely hulked out Grindy who is just like, going full Sephiroth on all of these encounters, like swinging around an oversized sword and cutting them all down without any effort whatsoever. And so you're like, I have everything I need. I can, clear Topher now. I can go mode 3 dungeons. Let's just go and let's close this deal out as soon as we're able to.
No, for sure. I'm pretty sure that Sylverfyre is going to win by like 20 minutes at least.
Oh yeah.
But we're commentators and we gotta keep it suspenseful. So if you're looking for a way that Grendylicius could get back into it, a real difficult Topher plus Grendylicious having an advantage of a class change is the way that this would go. So if Grandy finds a floater and Sylverfyre does not, and Temple of Fiends Revisited is so bad that you would need to have like a power bonk or some sort of other equipment advantage get through, then Grandy could wind up getting through here. But you would need to see Sylverfyre wipe it in Topher basically over and over. It's possible. So, crazier things have happened. This round. So I'm not ruling it out, but I'm not expecting it.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Grandy finding the adamant, which, as I recall, will lead into the chime, so he is one trade away from his own go mode. Meanwhile, speaking of go mode, Sylverfyre is just charging through these earth cavern floors, and will be at Lich in just a moment.
So Grandy also choosing not to visit the mermaids. I don't think we're gonna run into the floater of the sea.
I'm betting that floater is up on the mermaid floor. Yeah, that's the most logical place for it to be at this point.
It could be a mermaid floor. It could be key locked. He could find it in like key locked Conaria. It could be chilling in key locked Temple of Fiends.
It's possible.
Or key locked Dwarf Cave. So it could be that Sylverfyre is going to find it right at the end, because I got to expect that they might take a look at those Temple of Fiends chests.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find it, do you turn it in if you find the floater in the Temple of Fiends chest? I gotta imagine that you don't. If you find the floater in the Temple of Fiends key locked, you're going to assume that your opponent has already found it.
Yeah.
Especially considering the key was loose in Ice Cave. You're going to assume that your opponent already flying, and you're just going to be getting through that Temple of Fiends as fast as possible.
Yeah. I was about to say that you might do it just because you're sitting on that dragon armor that you would like to stick your knight to be in. But yeah, if you find that floater in like Temple of Fiends, then you're thinking, oh, Grindy made this check and it has been flying around for like half an hour now and is leaving me in the dust completely, and so we need to go right now.
Yeah, you do it after your second wipe, maybe.
Yeah, and meanwhile, a speed bump has just disappeared on Sylverfyre's side, and uh, bringing the other two up and using a house, and we are pretty much charging straight on for Topher.
Yeah, so we've got 2 orbs lit on Grendylicius' side. He's done a fairly good job of trying to stay in this race, but honestly, just the magic, it put him at such a disadvantage. And some of those trap tiles put him at such a disadvantage that it would be frankly very impressive. The odds are long for Grendylicius to get back in this race.
Yeah. As we were discussing sort of in the pre-race, and as I've seen get brought up once or twice here in chat as we've been going through this, the somewhat smarter play, if you're still committed to the two-man strat, would be to bring your fighter and black mage, of course, but then bring at least one like red mage or someone who you can dan off, who you can kill off if you just don't find anything really worthwhile in the early white magic slots, and you can pretty much just convert to a two-man party whenever you want to. Like, going for these nuns just locks you so hard into the idea of, like, you have nothing else to fall back on if the black magic is bad.
Absolutely. And I tend to agree. In my experience, there's I do a lot of the abbreviated party strats, and I think that it's very important to learn how to effectively dan your characters without too much like time lost. So pirates is always a great place to dan your character. Like, you just put your character in front and then wait for a couple rounds, and the pirates will take care of whoever's in front. But lacking finding something, you got to do like drafting 2 nuns locks you into this strat, and this is the nightmare scenario of what could happen.
Yeah,
is you wind up running into just the worst magic for you, and then finding like the level 2 fade or the level 1 fade on the other side. You know that you're in trouble. Meanwhile, these bad men giving Sylverfyre some trouble.
Yeah, these bad men are being very bad men.
Yeah, so still gonna reset out immediately. They realize, oh, I didn't purchase any of my heal pots before I went in. Got a little bit over exuberant there. And
probably get some healing items.
Absolutely. When you are unpromoted, your fighter has a significant absorb disadvantage from what a knight would have.
Yes.
So missing that out means you are going to need a lot of extra healing.
Okay, so the Aegis shield is here. Yep,
you don't
the
need,
Aegis.
You don't need that iron shirt.
Yeah, the Aegis shield and the pro cape here, and the mage staff, all
the
here.
Mage staff would have been great for him to find a lot earlier.
Yes. That is all in the dwarf armory, and unfortunately, the only thing out of there that Grimby is going to be able to use right now is the mage staff and the pro cape.
So, question in chat, is Grandy still digging for the floater? Probably. Grandy is now officially in go mode, but you can't be happy with 2 dungeons left to check to not have a floater. May even go check those Conneria chests, though he looks like he's not going to.
Demon Frog, the lack of heal pots. Silver charged in here without restocking on healing potions and whatnot, and an encounter with some very bad men convinced them that, hey, I should probably make sure I have some healing resources before I try to go all the way through this.
Grandy gonna do the same thing, not even leaving any room for nuke. That tells me that he's not likely to check many chests going through Earth Cave.
Mm-hmm.
So that one win condition of having the equipment advantage is gone. I don't imagine that having a level advantage is going to make a huge difference. So,
Ooh, big Frostpack is completely unrunnable. That is going to eat up some time.
So, if you know anything about poetry, I'll tell you that Conorrhea is a trochaic. It's two trochaic feet. The first syllable is stressed, and the third syllable is stressed. So it's Conorrhea. You know, there are people who pronounce it differently, and they're just wrong. Right? They're not poets.
Dingwu, to answer your question, Grindy just found Chime and is now pretty much a dungeon and a half or more fully behind Sylverfyre. So this is very much Sylverfyre's race to lose, unless the lower floors of Topher are just completely awful, and I don't really see that happening at this point.
So just out of curiosity, I'm gonna try and give this seed over to Artea and see if what time he does with the 2-man strats, because I think even as solid a runner as Artea is, I think he might finish behind Sylverfyre in this seed, because the strategy is just, it's so gimped in these particular. See, and he walks right by the Excalibur, has no interest in grabbing it. Well, if you're not going to grab the Excalibur, why on earth? Well, I guess because you want to get a floater. Or maybe I should say, why in Earth are you checking chests? Because that's where he's doing it. So, Asher arguing it's Conorrhea. I would argue that sounds dirtier. So, Grandy getting tripped up by a lot of undead, and it looks like Sylverfyre just zooming through Earth floor. Potentially going to be on air floor at the same time as Grandy's on Mirage Tower, so maybe you'll have a little bit of that parallelism in there. But yeah, so far nothing has shown any intention of hurting or being some kind of gatekeeper. So yeah, I would say that Grandy is 3 or 4 Temple of Fiend Revisited wipes behind. Maybe fewer if they were wipes on Chaos.
And we are talking about like you know, the mythical triple nuke being the only thing that could really stop the relentless march of Sylverfyre at this point. Although
Sylverfyre has a lot of magic, a lot of the things that you would hope to have. But missing, like, the one thing that Sylverfyre not prepared for would be, say, Kraken that reaches out and swings real hard.
Yeah.
Because if Kraken has a lot of absorb, right, Sylverfyre does not.
Yeah, and Sylverfyre finding that first nuclear, and Lich stepping up and pretty much demanding a little bit of respect, to which the Masamune says, "Lol, no." And we are through Lich and onto the fire floor.
So Will Bloodworth hoping to meet Nicolas Cage in Conorrhea, because he's calling it Con Area.
Welcome to Con Area?
Yeah, where hopefully Cyrus the Virus won't cause any trouble. And it looks like, yep, losing one of your life casters doesn't matter when you got 2.
Yep.
So that's the safety of having 2 ribbons. It's gonna be real hard to lose something. They would need an extended fight that takes out 2 party members for there to be even a chance of a wipe here.
Yeah, you need something that can simultaneously demolish both Deme and Zoe.
And Carrie came to play.
That'll do. That's a good start.
Okay, so this is going to depend a lot on how much P Carrie has. As it looks like Quad X does not take him down. Yeah, 302 damage onto the fighter. You can see. Oh, and Fire 3 gonna give a round of relief. Looks like Sylverfyre probably gonna get through here. Carrie doesn't usually roll too much. Yep. So Carrie's base HP being 700, you're not gonna expect close to 2000 HP from Carrie.
Yeah.
So
most you'll usually get in a bad scenario is about 1400.
Yeah, so hitting pretty hard. This water floor often a test, but from the way Sea Shrine looked, it doesn't expect to be a big test here.
Nope, the nasty Redzahogs got left back in the Sea Shrine itself, so we are just dealing with some of the higher level seafood that isn't actually all that threatening now.
Yeah, so Carrie hitting that hard is probably going to hurt Grendylicius more than it's going to hurt Sylverfyre.
That's going to be a nightmare for
Floater.
Yep.
Last chance right here. 2 chests left. Nope, there is no floater this well, actually, I guess there's still the Temple of Fiends key locked, if they want to check that. Man.
Burn fast going up.
And Kraken also came to play, so this is going to depend on Kraken's absorb and evade, and HP. So we'll see how this goes. Kraken taking out 2 mages immediately,
and that is all sources of fast eliminated from the battle.
So no fast, but we're using our charges, and yeah, we've got our evade up, so getting through this battle, we're gonna be fine. Yeah, and Kraken's terminated, did not have a lot of HP, so Kraken,
mercifully,
again, that's gonna be more a problem for a 2-man party than a 3-man party, or a 4-man. Yeah, Kraken hitting for a whole lot, but not at all interested in living through the day. So, glass cannon there. And those ruse charges on the White Mage are gonna save the day. Oh, wow. White Mage living with 9 HP.
Okay.
And we are running out of chances for a Gatekeeper here. Ice 2
coming out
does a little bit of damage to the Black Mage, but oh wow, 8 hits for 1020, and that is a low absorb Tiamat. That Tiamat is gonna die, and we just have Chaos left to go.
Yeah, the ruse on the White Mage is a very good play. I'm pretty sure that more or less clutched out the entire run and has probably secured Sylverfyre the win.
And this is one of the reasons why that Red Mage so squishy. Red Mage wasn't even wearing a gold bracelet. Red Mage was wearing chain armor. So the original armor you found at the beginning of the game, that's what the Red Mage was wearing when Kraken reached out and touched her. So we're putting some walls up. Gonna try and get some buffs up for this carry pull. There's no reason to hold anything back now, and we're opening with Bane, and Bane's not gonna hit anybody. So that's quite helpful for. We've got 2 party members that do not have a ribbon equipped, but both of them are going to survive.
Just getting some tempers out, and I think we're gonna start whacking away at a chaos here. Yep.
Whacking away at chaos, 3 hits. Oh, and he wants a do-over with the Bane. He's gonna get it. Gets the White Mage. Little late to get the White Mage though.
Yep.
And oh wow, chaos was paper. Get your GGs out for Sylverfyre with an official SRL time of I can't see it because I got kicked out of the room.
That would have been about 138 or so.
Yep, so Sylverfyre, get your GGs out. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. We'll see if we can get them in for an interview.
Demon Frog does have the official SRL time for us. It was 1:38:53.
Excellent. So with the 1:38:53, that's an excellent time. This seed. So a lot of potential gatekeeping in terms of the power of the enemy fiends, but not in terms of their HP. They were all made of paper, so we did not wind up needing that power bonk, and it looks like it's possible Grendylicius is going to forfeit.
Yeah, because Grendy knows at this point that he is miles behind.
Yeah, with another orb still left to light and no floater, it's hard to summon the will to do so. So looks like we're gonna have that's the end of the race here. So we're gonna try and get them in for interviews. And if I can't get into that room, so if you can invite them in the SRL room, that would be super awesome, Demon Frog. And hopefully we'll have them join us. And it looks like we are joined by Sylverfyre. Sylverfyre, GG.
Thank you. Do we know where the floater was?
No, we do not.
We do not. Though, by process of elimination, probably mermaids were holding on to.
It was either mermaids or it was at the bottom of marsh.
Yeah. We haven't seen Lower Marsh. Now that would be interesting. If the floater was in Lower Marsh the whole time, and that could have been game changing.
Yep, and we are also joined by Grendylicius.
Yeah, so Gigi, I'm gonna let Sylverfyre answer this first. Did you notice anything about the magic?
Only white magic was good.
Yeah. Grandy, did you notice anything about that?
I'll point out that until like the hour 20 mark or so, my black mage knew 2 spells, Lit 2 and Bane.
I was noticing that.
So meanwhile, Grendy running the fighter black mage strats, probably one of the worst seeds that I've ever seen for a 2-man strat.
Yeah, if I was rolling in with like with a fighter black mage, I would have been like immediately no, fighter white mage. There we go.
Well, it didn't feel that bad now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it started out pretty bad, and then you had that that ice cave, man, where you have a trap tile with those vampires that hit pretty hard, and afterward you really clutched out that trap tile with 4 zombie Ds that had stone touch.
Yeah, only my white mage walked out of that not stoned.
Yeah, Grendy managed to get through that trap tile twice without wiping, and it was touch and go, but he managed to do it. So that even could have been worse, because we were speculating, if you wiped that once, do you go back there and check that chest that happened to have the key in it?
I would not have.
So if I wiped in ice at all, I was turning around and going to volcano. That was like the moment I step in the ice, it's like I know going ice before volcano here is a little shady, but like I've got some levels on me. I felt good about it. But I know that like if ice is mean, don't slam your head against ice if it is mean. Just leave and come back later.
Absolutely. Yeah, so with this win, you advance to 2-1. No, wait, that's not right. That's not right at all.
That's correct. I'm 2-1 now.
Were you not 2-0?
I was not 2-0. I lost to Thundercloud last week.
Oh, we had this listed as 2-2. Okay, well, with this win, you advance to 2-1. So going into that bracket, you have anything you're predicting there?
I'm still feeling good about it.
Still feeling pretty good?
You know, one of the things I've been saying about my practice lately is that I suck at flying airships, and that just wasn't a problem today.
Yeah, you did not need to navigate an airship in this seed. So, Grendy, we're gonna get your take on this. That was not an easy seed for you, brother.
I didn't think it was all too bad, honestly.
Yeah,
if you know your Bane and Zap targets, like I could see squeezing out the Black Mage, like a lot of power out of that Black Mage.
I knew some of the targets.
Yeah, you just wound up bleeding time all over just because of the lack of magic. I think you wound up exiting the inner sea 6 minutes after Sylverfyre did. And when you're 6 minutes behind 20 minutes into the race, that's not a strong place to be in.
I mean, part of that is that I walk into Marsh Cave with exit. That in itself is going to save a hefty chunk of time.
Absolutely. Exit was a huge spell this seed in terms of being a difference maker. You know, Exit in Ice Cave was huge. Exit in Marsh Cave was huge. It even though it's not necessarily saving you from wipes, although in Ice Cave it could, it definitely saved you the time of having to walk out. And with those encounters, when you're in a 2-man, you can't afford to fail a lot of runs, so you wind up taking a lot of those counters. I saw.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the like if you're doing the 2-man strats, you're expecting to kill most everything. So without really high powered black magic, that can be real tricky.
Yeah. So Grendylicius, I mean you're 1-2 right now going into that bracket. You did pick up a win with this strat. How do you feel about improving it going forward?
I mean, I still have fun with the strat. If anyone offers me a different strategy, I'll probably start running that too.
Oh no, it's an excellent strategy. I'm a big fan of Arte, and I'm not trying to dissuade you from it. I'm just saying like, in terms of development, because I know that you've been developing this fairly recently. There's still some kinks to work out, or
It's still just a lot of learning processes. There's a lot of things I don't know. My routing, I feel like, is terrible. I'm pretty slow at getting anywhere.
Yeah, I actually did want to ask why you opted for the hard 2-man strat over, say, sort of a at least like 3-man strat where you have like a red mage in the back pocket where that you can kill off, where you might be able to bring in a little bit of that white magic if you really want to. And if it turns out that the white magic is just completely worthless, you just stick the white mage, the red mage or the white mage in the front, and just like uh, kill them off and commit fully to the to the 2-man strat at that point, versus just going in on it from the word go.
I just find the 2-man strat to be really fun. Like I said, if someone comes up and offers me to race with a different strategy, I'll probably start trying that out too. I just started. I don't really know what all there is to do, so I just gotta go with this one.
Honestly, so like with the Fade at level 1, like let's say like I was actually considering like black belt black mage a little bit, or like drafting you, like if you wanted to draft, I would consider trying to draft you into something like that. Had like if it's an open party and I see that level 1 fade in a white locked spot and I'm on like fighter black mage, like okay, fighter black mage white mage, basically the same thing. I don't like a little less XP to go around, but like, oh my gosh, level 1 fade got like that white mage got so many kills under her belt that seed for me. It's
Yeah,
nothing to
level
joke
1
about.
fade, level 1 fade combined with a level 5 not learnable before promotion, which would never happen, nuke, and yeah, like everything, all the magic was stacked in level 5 where it was not immediately accessible, and like instead of having your sweepers one per level, you had nuke and ice 3 and lit 3, so your 3 strongest magics all on the same level as temper.
And Ember was
So
there.
yeah, it could have been a lot kinder than it was. So GG getting through. Like you stayed in that race for a good long time, and you were at a significant disadvantage just based on party composition and the way that the spells were. So definitely GG staying in.
Like I said, it didn't feel like a terrible run to me. I thought I was doing fairly decent. Once I hit the 130 mark, I knew the dot done was coming soon, but I still didn't feel like I did that.
Yeah, I mean, like you're well on your way to finishing it, and with with a no floater seed, like that's no joke.
Yeah, you definitely didn't play poorly. You were at a disadvantage because I mean, it didn't feel like things were going so slow until you see the other person. Oh, they were in this encounter. They cast fate, and then it's done. Anyway, we're about ready to finish up the stream. We're gonna get final thoughts. So we're gonna start with you, Sylverfyre, going into 2-1. How do you feel? Do you have any final thoughts for us?
No, I'm just happy that this tournament is still going on so well. Thank you everyone for volunteering to commentate and restream, and like all our volunteers, because people are really stepping up and I'm really happy to see that.
Absolutely. It's always great to have more people in it. Grandy, final thoughts.
Whoever I play next week should come up with a fun team comp for us to run. Let me know beforehand. So
You're prepared to draft now.
I've been prepared every week. I just, for some reason, this time I said open because I wanted to go with the fighter black mage. I should have gone with the draft.
Yeah, ironically, if you had drafted a party, this could have been fairly different.
I like drafting white mages, so
yeah, you would have been forced. You would have had some sort of like Sho Fukamachi silliness where you've got like 3 white mages and gone, oh hey, well fade. But yeah, before I turn it over to Space Drake to finish us off, I just want to give a big thank you to Demon Frog for restreaming. Big thank you to Jet for tracking for us. Thank you to Randomania for hosting, and obviously thank you to our runners. Go ahead and give them a follow. And of course, thank you to Space Drake for joining me in the commentary booth. It was a fun and an interesting race to commentate. So hopefully everybody had a good time. With that, Space Drake, you got any final thoughts for us? You want to close this out?
Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in and joining us on this magical journey that we all just participated in. Remember that you can catch more of the spring tournament on the various Randomania and Speed Gaming channels, and a full schedule of the 2020 spring tournament is available each week on the Final Fantasy One Randomizer Discord, and you can find more information about the Final Fantasy Randomizer at finalfantasyrandomizer.com. And I would like to give special thanks once again to Jet 2980 for tracking for us, as this was their first time ever tracking for an FF1 rando race, and I thought that they did an excellent job. And so, thank you very much to Jet.
Yeah, never once did you eliminate the floater. You did perfectly.
Yes. Well, once again, you can follow our runners at their respective Twitch streams, which you can see on the stream, and we hope that you viewers will continue to join us for more races over the rest of the week to come, and further on to the very end of the 2020 spring tournament. And with that, I am Space Drake.
Yeah, I'm Blastoid. We're signing off.
And we are signing off.